Hey, here we go. Feels like we're going. It's cold. I mean, you know, for Southern California, cold. Whew. How's everybody doing? I am busy, have been super busy this week, and dealing with crazy rain yesterday. We had a dentist appointment. Nikki and I both generally go to the dentist at the same time, and we had a dentist appointment not that early, but oh my gosh, the rain was so bad, flooding really quickly, and we barely made it we called them, said we might be late because it was pretty bad, traffic was crazy, but thankfully we made it plenty of time, really. But man, it was crazy. Car wrecks all over the place. There was like a multi-car collision and small two-car, fender benders, and just crazy. The car that went off the on-ramp and landed on it, just must have completely gone over the curb and went and landed on like a outcrop of rocks. So they had to probably pull that sucker back with a winch of some sort. But yeah, we didn't see that thing. We were, when we came back through, it wasn't so bad, and the rain had calmed down. But yeah, it's been crazy. Let me see if I can get the chat going here. I'm not sure that this is accurate here, but we've had a good time. I went to a vintage computer show with my friend Sean, who gave a seminar about, reintroducing a game for a computer system that barely survived for any time. It was the Aquarius. It was really cool, and he was really funny. Let me see here, YouTube. Yeah, I'm kind of confused here. Anyway, there we go. But yeah, it was fun. I had a really, really good time. Was able to enjoy the whole thing. And my friend's like, you don't have to sit through the seminar. And I was really good. I'm happy I was there. He was talking about using AI to help improve it. It was pretty crazy. I don't know what I'm doing to get this. There we go. Pop out the chat here from YouTube. I am signed in as me. I don't know why I'm not signed in as BGG, but oh well. Let's see if the rest of the chats here are okay. But it's been exciting. We've been doing a lot of stuff, and I'm kind of looking forward to, let me do this one again too. Let me see if it works, because I think it's in the wrong chat room. And we'd filmed a lot. We did not film this weekend. We filmed the previous weekend a lot. And that was good. Had a good time. Boy, I got these, everything seems strange. Like some of the windows are not showing the user. I had hey, Isla 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. How you doing? Yeah, it's been strange. Like all the computers are like logging me out all the time, and this is my personal computer here that I'm using, and it's logging me out and leaving the Board Game Geeks, some of the Board Game Geek stuff logged in, but there we go. Hey, I'm watching an old stream. There we go. Cool. Let me look at I have so many windows. I have two displays. It's pretty great, but I kind of need certain things. Let me, I'll put this down here. I only need to see this here, I think. Except that's not showing that. Let me see. At least I think I'm live here. Anyway. I know I am. I saw myself on YouTube. I don't know what's going on. Everything is definitely having issues. Let's see if this will go. I reloaded, so I have to call into the software. We have a remote, in the control room we have a computer running, and I remote into that, and I have to then go into that to just be able to watch the stream. I mean, I can watch it on YouTube and all those kinds of things, but I'm watching it without audio, and it's roughly in time. If I watch it through Twitch or YouTube, it's delayed. And I want to hear the computer, you know, the prompts and things like that. This is terrible. It's not going. Huh. I wonder why it went on the one and it didn't on the other. Oh, there we go. Hey, hooray. And I don't hear myself, which is good. So we'll do this with 2 windows like that. Cool. Anyway, so I've been painting. Let's go ahead and do that. I've been painting. Oops, wrong one. That's what I get. Let's try that. That one? Nope. That one? Nope. That one? Yes. There we go. I was painting Maestro, which I don't know Maestro. I know that he is a Hulk, an angry villain Hulk. Oh, I did not clean the fidget popper. So yeah, basically I want to clean these things. And I had a lot of dust in it, and I put the trash can on the other side, and I'm right-handed, so I don't know. Anyway, so you can just pop the colors out, but it's really good to just do that and then clean it. I did end up wiping it last week. Hey, look at that. Looks like a contact lens. And you want to get it out, obviously, and I put regular paint in here. I did not have my wet palette, which I do today because I need it. So let me kind of rinse this out. I do have a wet paper towel here, I believe. No, that is a tissue. What did I do with the wet paper towel? Oh my gosh. What a day. What a day. I don't need a wet paper towel, but I had one. Anyway, let me get another towel. But I was painting Maestro. Here he is, the one that kind of I got the furthest on. I ended up getting paint on this Maestro with my brush doing something stupid, so I'm trying to keep everything further away so I don't run into this trouble. I've been using this Carandras green for his skin, and it's good. It's not great though. It's the problem is I want a little bit of yellow in there. So I'm going to probably try to do a sort of a wet blend with the contrast paints and speed paints here. I'm not certain what I'll use. I do like it. It looks pretty good, and there's actually some shading on his abdomen there that seems pretty great. But I want to try to make it so that it's got a little bit more yellow. So what I will try to do is a wet blend, which I've done with contrast paints. It's probably easier than regular paint because you're already wet. The problem is contrast paints are very kind of wet. So the way I do it in this is I put the main color, the lighter color, and I'm going to probably make my own because I don't think I'm going to find a. This is terrible. I should have washed this in the sink. I don't think I'm going to find a green in the. I don't have all of the colors, but I have a lot of the colors from Citadel line. Citadel was nice enough to send me 3 years ago all of the second wave of paints and shades. So I did get all of the new shades, and I had a lot of them already in the original formulation. Wow, there's another one. Looks like a contact lens. But I didn't. Now I've got all of the ones that they had at that time anyway. I don't know if they've introduced any more. I don't think so. I do pay attention, as I do like the paints. I keep hoping they do a great job with it anyway, but I keep hoping that they'll do an update, maybe to include metallics. The metallics from the speed paint line from Army Painter are really nice. They're not really contrast paints. What they do is they're thin enough but opaque enough to let you paint over the zenithal highlight and get shading, and it looks pretty great. and they're really actually quite nice colors. Okay, I think I got everything going here finally. I do have a lot of materials around here though. I'm trying not to buy too much equipment, but I still keep buying some. And I also want to use that brush. What is that? Did I buy a 5? I bought a 5. This would be pretty great. So this is a new synthetic line from Army Painter that my friend has been talking about since before they released. He went to an event and in Sweden, and they tested the paint, blind tested the brushes, and everybody was freaking out about how great this brush was. And I don't think they knew that it was a synthetic, because they were combining synthetics with natural hair, and this is supposed to be pretty great. I actually want to buy a bunch of them, but I just was like, I went to Geeky Tees and was waiting. I made an exchange, so I bought a game from somebody through the BGG marketplace, and I waited there, met him there, and so I was like, I'm gonna buy, I always buy something when I'm at one of these stores because I want them to stick around, but I didn't have anything I needed. They didn't have the one game I was actually hoping to buy. So I just ended up buying a brush. It was not an inexpensive brush either. So yeah, you can see that the shading has done a pretty good job. It just doesn't have the yellow that I would. Let me actually find Maestro. I saved all of the images from the Kickstarters and the GameFound. The GameFound one for DC Superheroes United is not great. They did not paint everything. That was because they lost. I mean, they're having troubles. Cool Mini or Not has money issues, and they've been selling off stuff, and we're hopeful that they will deliver the stuff from the United campaign, DC Superheroes United. And the issue, they keep selling things. I imagine they would have sold this line because of its popularity, but I don't think that they can. It's using IP that is connected to, I imagine is connected to Spin Master, because that's their partner on these, and so they can't sell it. And they have a lot, they have a huge campaign of nearly $5 million for this that has to fulfill at some point if they want to keep going. And I know that they're trying to keep going. They are putting out different kinds of games, more smaller games, trying to have more things in stock, which is great because it is kind of frustrating not being able to buy some things from them. I'm just particularly disappointed because they actually have a bunch of really good games from when Eric Lang was kind of running the games portion, like the incoming games and designing stuff for CMON. And there were some pretty good games. Now, not all games need to stay in print forever. Hey, Rox Shizzy, thanks so much for the follow. Yeah, they don't, not all games need to stay in print, but there were some pretty great games that they released that just didn't stick around long enough, I think, to even help them maybe be popular. But, who knows? It's so difficult, it's such a impossibility to make games that are, you think that you're going to be able to do it and have them be a hit. And most of the things that really succeed nowadays have lots of minis in them, and that's obviously one of CMON's fortes, but I don't know what's going on. I only know a few people at the company anymore, and it's kind of challenging. So, should I use a handle for this? I'm going to try to switch modes. I haven't painted his head yet. That's funny, I painted this guy's head because I got paint on him. Was this the one? Yeah, I did some hair, like integrating the hair into the to the scalp. with just some brush strokes. I'm going to probably do that on all of them, but I think it looks pretty great. I think what I'll do is I'm going to continue with this green here that I've got going on him and try to get him done. And then I'm going to, maybe I'll do a little bit of, so what I might do to increase the yellow for this is to do glazing. And you can do that with contrast paints, just thinned out contrast paints. I do have kind of a greenish yellow here. This one here is Iron Jaws yellow. Maybe I can use that one. Good gosh, there's just bottles everywhere. I refilled everything, so I have bottles very close to me right here. Supplies are definitely too much right now. I'm trying to not have as much. But when you do a glaze, what you're doing is applying a thin version of the paint. See, this is kind of greenish gray, yellow, I don't know. You're putting a thin version of the paint on, and you keep applying it until you have it light enough. And sometimes, in my opinion, you need to go lighter than you actually want it, because then what you're going to do to really tie the layers together, at least for me, I'm not a great blender necessarily, but what I would do is then put a wash over that to knock down the intensity and smooth out the gradients. And it works pretty good. Yeah, I actually got green in his mouth too. I'm seeing that. I forgot about that. I might have to fix that. Yeah, I don't know the story about Maestro. I know he's really a terrible villain. Goodness. But I do want to come out. The hope is that I can get ahead on some of the projects, some of the things I'm working on, so that I can come out and actually paint a little bit more often. I really would like to. Yeah, this is not yellow enough in my opinion, but I'm going to do it just a little bit to see if, I mean, also it's not thinned at all. And if you thin it, it's going to be more yellow. Right now I'm already getting paint. Let me see if I can get that out of here. A little flake of some of the previous paint in here. So I like to use these palettes, these fidget poppers as palettes for contrast and speed paints. It does a pretty great, wow, it is pretty yellow as I can see here. I'm wiping it out. So it might work. See how yellow that is. It's pretty crazy. It does not look like that in the bottle though. It's crazy. It's really crazy. So I'll do a little bit on this one to see. We'll do his abdomen here, and then I'll work on the other guy's head. But I am going to try a few different methods on this mini. Since I don't have any kind of, well, I guess I will. I'll use the contrast medium. I don't have a agitator in here. I use they don't sell these anymore, at least that I can find on Monument Hobbies. These are mixing balls that are glass, so they're not going to, and the funny thing is this is not what they use glass mixing balls in their paint. They are, I have them sitting out here somewhere, right here. I have empty bottles that I purchased, and as you can see, I've not used a single one of them. I don't know if I really needed it. But the mixing balls are much bigger, and I mean, wow. There we go. So there's the difference in size. I believe they're still using this bigger size here. The green one here, wow, it's funny how it can change intensity with the light coming from the other glass bead. They don't sell these anymore, and I really like them because inside of, I don't know about the radius for these. It's pretty good radius for these to get close. Actually, it looks like it might even be better for the inside edge of this to really mix it in, because you need to get all of the pigment integrated for the speed paint / contrast paint thing to be effective, look its best, and to do its best stuff. Have you tried the Army Painter? I have not. I'm actually kind of interested in trying those out. So there's a bunch of companies have started doing paint markers, and Army Painter had a relationship with a company that did paint pens, paint brush pens, and then they did their own line. So the original one was just like the brand of pens, and they used the Army Painter speed paints. They don't have all of the colors yet, but it seems like a good idea. It's not, you know, I mean, you're applying speed paints in a kind of heavy-handed way. You do want to control the amount of flow, and you're going to have a little bit less control with the brush pens. But I mean, they're really just markers, because I think it's felt, you know, like a felt type tip or something like that. Wow, that's a lot of paint that you use to paint. And the way the crazy part, I don't know. I was watching somebody that was worried about the tips. So what you do is to, you know, there's if you've used any kind of paint pens from like goodness gracious, Sharpie makes some, Molotow makes some. You have to push the nib into the pen to get the paint going. And when you want a precise tip, that isn't great. But they might have done something with the Army Painter ones, because I have not really looked at a bunch of videos for those. I mean, they've only recently become available. And they look great. I mean, it really is a great idea to get, I think it might have been Goobertown Hobbies that did a video on. I can't remember. I watched somebody, could have even been, I mean, I watch a lot of channels. Could have been them, but, or Brent. But it seems like a good idea. Like, you know, especially for folks that don't, you know, have a billion paintbrushes and, you know, all the things that you kind of need. You don't need a lot of anything. I mean, you don't have to have a lot of anything. There is a great video out there that Louise from Rogue Hobbies did, where she used her color paints. I'll show you them right now. She used these 6 colors. Is this it? Rogue Hobbies, yes. I think I have one down below. That's why I'm not seeing all of them here. Nope, that's a fluorescent color. She's using these 6 colors, and she mixed every color in a bunch of colors. She mixed a bunch of Citadel colors with these 6 colors. So it's a green, a blue, a yellow, a teal, dark hot pink, and an orange red. And you can see her make a color wheel mixing with the 2 sets. You have like a red, green, blue, and a cyan, magenta, yellow. And she was mixing all these colors. That doesn't seem right though, does it? You kind of need a yellow. But anyway, and hey, it's in there, great. But she was mixing I mean, she has experience in mixing colors, so you do need to have some skills. But she did I mean, she obviously doesn't do that for everything, because she uses colors all the time that are pre-mixed. But you can get a lot done. For the initial run of the contrast paints, I only had 20-something of them. I didn't, you know, I'd heard that some of them were not great. I have different feelings about the paints now, as far as some of the ones that people don't like, I like. And I probably use them in a different manner than a lot of folks. I probably should leave this down here. I'm going to need it. And so, you know, it seems like you could, you know, I would mix what I needed. I was actually disappointed with the yellows initially. I have this one here. I'll show you in a second. Close this back up. The channel name, oh, that's Rogue Hobbies. She's great. She used to be a paint presenter, you know, like a painter presenter at Warhammer TV, which is, you know, Warhammer Plus or whatever they call it now. And she just went off to do her own thing probably nearly 2 years ago now. And it's great. She does not do a ton of videos, kind of like once a month, and maybe if something is inspired. But it is so good, so good. And she, you know, she's got a ton of energy too, and she's really, really fun. But she was able to really show what you can do with paints where you don't need to have a ton of anything. As a matter of fact, I think she has a new video. She did one a couple weeks ago showing glazing. And you know, I'm only okay at glazing. So yeah, this is not going to add a lot of yellow. We probably need, but if you do enough of it, it will probably do it. But what I'm going to probably do is use some yellow, real yellow that will, but let me do this first. So I do like this green. I think it actually has a pretty good amount of yellow in it. But yeah, the other one, if you're talking about the markers, Goobertown Hobbies is the one. I don't think Louise did that yet. Brent is great. He's a chemist, I believe, by trade. If not, he obviously studied chemistry and knows a lot about it. And it's pretty great. His videos are great too. He does a lot of really cool ideas where he'll cover the different levels of durability of like varnishes. I think he was doing was wipe on, spray on, you know, paint on, spray on, matte. I don't know if he might have done gloss too, just to show how durable they were. And he did like this crazy test where he was handling the minis going around and eating snacks, you know, so that it would like the oils from your hands would get in there. And it's pretty awesome. Paint him yellow. I'm going to do a little bit of that. I'm doing, let me see if I can read that. Schlockgrawal. Yeah, I'm working on Maestro. I'm going to paint his head. I'm going to go for a little bit, since it's more visible anyway. And I may come back and do some glazing. We'll see. But I'm going to try this. I'm going to use the, I don't think I have a mixing ball in here. Shows I haven't used it much, because I basically add a mixing ball to everything. I'm very sad they don't make these anymore though, so that's why I'm recovering them as I use up a paint bottle. I've only ever done it once really, because I go through the contrast medium very quickly. The nice thing about the Army Painter stuff is they come, like all the new paints come with 2 mixing balls. I probably should add 2 in here, but this usually does it. So what I'm going to try to do is do a mix on his head, and we'll see how successful that is. Because I want the yellow to be brighter. Although you can already see it's got, I mean, it's probably super faint to you, but it's already more yellow here. And if you keep doing that, you really kind of need opaque paints to do that. You can do glazes, washes or shades with contrast paints because they're already relatively transparent. You can make them more transparent by using water or contrast medium. But to do this, because I was going ahead and going for it and see what it would do brightness wise, and I feel it's not quite the green I'd hoped for. I mean, I really like this green. I can't remember what I used for Hulk, but let's add some yellow to this here and see what we get. But yeah, this was part of the multiverse campaign they did, which is cool. You have to be careful. So I had, let's see if we have that issue here. I tore, it is right here. So I had a big pool of the color, and it was really bad, and I cleaned it up, and it's not great. I mean, you know, it's flesh, and he gets beat up a lot, so who knows, maybe he would have some kind of scarring and stuff. So now let me try to, we're going to try to do the yellow with the green. And I may mix a tiny bit of the green into the yellow, but I want to have two separate colors to be able to do the blending. I'm going to essentially try to do a, not sure you want your, hey Uno Maestro, I am going to be painting the head, I'm sorry. You can maybe tell me about yourself. I don't know anything about Maestro, other than he's an ultimate villain or something like that. Okay, let's get some paint on the palette. It's crazy. It's actually, it's raining. It's probably not raining right now, but it's been raining here. But it's cool, so it's dry. And of course, you know, you have your heating going and stuff like that. It only makes it drier. And so yeah, I'm putting a little green in there. So now this is the yellow that I started with, but with a, you know, like essentially a drop or two of green. So it's pretty strong. So let's just try it on this guy's belly, this Maestro's belly, and maybe we'll get lucky. Hey, you know what? That brush is not clean. I mean, it's clean, but it's not moist. So yeah, this is, well, I don't know about this brush. I think it's kind of worn out. I want it to be wet though. So the good thing is I'm starting with the light color and adding the dark color. So you're going to get a better transition. And I want to try to do it when it's not completely wet, but wet. So it already has quite a bit of shading. This is because this is a lighter color. So it's using, well, number one, it's using the amount of paint I have, plus plus the undercoating. So, not green enough, right? I don't think so. Let's just let this dry a moment. I'm going to try down here first because it's darker. So I want to add a little bit more of the green, but not go crazy, because I want some of the highlights on the upper part of his six-pack here. And if I do this right, I don't have to go crazy, because then I can then do washes over this, or glazing, to darken it all up overall, right? So that's too much, but if I add a little bit of the yellow, I can lighten it back up. Because it's still wet, right? Too much paint. But yeah, I want the dark color to increase. I'm not going to worry about it so much on his head because, oof, that's too much. Okay, paint, water. So it's kind of grayish, but I mean, it looks more lemony. That, you know, I kind of wanted a bit of a lemon quality to it, you know, a lime/lemon. Now you can see probably here on his six-pack here, the yellow is kind of receded, so it doesn't have. It's really a lime green. It doesn't have that color, so I'm going to put a little bit on it. And try not to let it mess up my green. But it's already more like what I was hoping for. And then I will do Sprite, lemon and lime. And then I will build it up. Well, let's do it. Let's just go for one of his hands as well, his arms. I'll use this brush since it's bigger. So, you know, you really don't even actually have to wet blend it if you don't want. You'll want to at some point, I believe. But what you could do is you could just paint the yellow, in this case, this lime green I'm doing, and then add the other colors and blend on top of that. And so one of the things I do when I'm painting paints, I usually start more subtle, like, it's not diluted, but the intensity is reduced with these contrast mediums and speed paint mediums. I start with it at that level and then just build it up on top of that, because I kind of want to creep up on the intensity I want to have and not just go too, so it's not what I did here on his head. I absolutely started with a I did have some contrast medium in it. I used the rest of the contrast medium that I had, but it was old, and you kind of want to have fresher bottles of it. And one of the things I think I saw Artist Opus do, he just he mixes the bottles. So as it's getting low and thick, he ends up putting it into the new bottle, and he gets like the right level, in his opinion, of slight dryness to moisture. You know, like fresh, because it's kind of runny. And you can see I'm having pools, and I don't want it to have too many pools. And I had on the one underneath his hands here, and it was kind of strong on the first one I painted. He doesn't have a ton of flesh visible on this, which is kind of interesting. So I'm going to let that go. And then we'll try to do I'm going to have his head be that dark green. No, I'm going to redo it. Sprite blend you created, absolutely. And I like that green. It's actually a pretty cool one. It is not, there is a great green that they have in this set. Not for this. But you can't really tell, but it's called Plague Bearer Flesh, and it is really good. You obviously wanted to do it with like some sort of a diseased skin tone. I used it for the green, like a military green color for the Red Skull's coat, and I was really happy with it. It was literally one of the first times I'd ever used that color. Actually, that's not true. I used it on, because I bought it, it was literally one of the first like 6 or 7 bottles that I bought after Gen Con in 2019, and it is great. So yeah, I'm going to wick up a little bit of this. I don't want it to dry that strongly, although it's going to get bolder with the blue or the green I'm going to be using. Now you don't want to touch the contrast paints or the speed paints. I think speed paints are a little more forgiving, but not much. As the paint dries, it kind of gels. You don't want to move any paint once it's drying, because it develops a film. Well, the contrast paints, it kind of turns to a gel before it turns to a solid, right? A smooth skin. If you touch it, you'll get what I exactly had here, where it tears the film off, and it leaves this ring here. but it was a huge pool and it was going to look wrong. So I was like, I'm better off just taking it down. And since I may end up reducing the intensity of this in general, it's not a big deal. You know, I can undercoat this. It doesn't necessarily need to be shaded as much as, or I just go with this guy being greener. You know, it's no big deal. You do what you want to do on these. You don't worry about, whoa, is his arm, it is green up there, okay. You don't worry about, I like to use the color schemes that they have because I don't know anything about these, really about the characters. And I want people to be able to recognize them, and I want to go quickly. I don't want to spend all day thinking about how to paint it. And you know, you get more decisive as you go, but I really like being able, it's kind of nice, you know, because with like a war band or something like that, or an army in Warhammer, sometimes you want it to be like I don't want to touch anything I painted. I really should have it on a stand here. You want them to be recognizable, but you also have the liberty to just do what you want, right? You do with anything, but I like, as I say, I like these to be more recognizable. But I'm actually hoping to increase, I'm hoping what I can do on this is then, I mean, I may have to, because I want it to be similar. So, and we'll start with the other one here that hasn't got any paint on him except for his face, the mouth. But as you can see, the shading, right, it's darker here where I didn't get paint on it. It actually does a pretty great job of giving you shading with the, that's the whole point of using these contrast paints. It gets you to a really nice shaded, looks, you know, not just a big splotch of color that's continuously the same. These contrast paints and speed paints all are semi-transparent, so some more transparent than the others. That's one of the problems. I think Ultramarines Blue is one that people don't like. Though I want to get it at some point, although I don't have it yet, and I've been into the stores and not bought it, but I know people had problems with it. But I think I would be okay with it. It's a color that I kind of want to have. So yeah, we're going to start. He's going to look like a dill pickle here for a while. A pale dill pickle. Yeah, see, he has nothing. His hands look a little bolder now. I did some touch up here because it was the knuckles. Actually, let me put this one in a base holder so I do not touch anything. But yeah, he's cool. I mean, and you know, these are the minis just keep getting more interesting as they go. I mean, the DC ones. Look at this Batman. I mean, he's phenomenal. Such a great sculpt. I really don't know what they're going to do. I hope that if they continue with this stuff, I hope they can get back with Big Child Creatives. I don't know that. I mean, Big Child Creatives went out of business, temporarily at least. Not just because of CMON, but because they had a paint deal with, gosh, who was it? I think it was AK Interactive. They were doing a line of paints where the AK Interactive, I guess, just took it over. I don't know what, you know, I mean, I didn't know anything about it, and I think I watched a video by Lila Mev where she mentioned that, and I'm like, what? And I did a deep dive, because I actually really follow Big Child. I did not, they were called Atom paints, and people liked them. They looked good, but you know, it was a small range. It's actually kind of a great idea, with some really strong colors, very well, you know, made, and so that hurt them. Then probably CMON not paying them. I have no idea. They did a crowdfunding campaign on, I believe it was on My Mini Factory, where they had gotten the rights to all, I don't know if they got rights to the game, but I suspect that they did. They did a game called Hate with Eric Lang and, you know, designing it, and Adrian Smith doing the art. And that was like one time. They were not going to do, supposedly, you know, it was like it wasn't something, because I mean, it's kind of, I guess it's a kind of adult-oriented game thematically, and they were going to sell what they had, but they weren't going to make any more and put it in retail. So this was, I don't know how many years ago now, probably 5 or 6 years ago. Our friends Annie and Sebastian have it, and he painted the whole stuff, the whole set, which is pretty cool. But so they did a crowdfunding campaign, and I don't think it made a lot of money, because number one, it was print your own minis, and you know, those have some. I have 3D printers. I love all of it, but I'm not printing armies. You know, mostly what I do is I print the one-offs and accessories. You know, I was making and designing some and printing stuff for Gaslands, and you know, mostly actually what I did was print other people's designs for tires, and just so that I can change the Hot Wheels tires to be more, you know, Road Warrior-esque stuff. The crazy thing I read last night, though, is that my mini factory bought Thingiverse, and you know, they're like, we're going to keep the stuff free, but you know, that people have, but they're going to try to build a, you know, my mini factory is a completely different like market than Thingiverse, so I'm not certain how that's going to go for Thingiverse. They are keeping the things that are free there. They're going to give more tools, better tools, I guess, for the makers to earn some income from their designs. So we'll see. It's interesting. If you don't have a lot of paint set, would it be best to stick with one brand, or over time, does one have a blend of paint brands? So, number one, I'm not a huge fan of buying a huge set. I do have the 50 paint War Paints Fanatic set that they did, and I got a pretty good deal on it. But I wanted to try those paints, and I just wanted to have a mix. And the nice thing about their paints is their sets do not overlap very much. I mean, obviously, like white is going to be probably in every set, and black, but all the other colors basically just fill out the paint line. So you can start with like the 12 paint set, I think it is, and have a good mix of colors. I'm not a huge fanatic of I'm not a War Paints fanatic of their Fanatic line as far as what they pick for them all the time, but it's not bad, right? It's actually pretty great. But I feel it's not bad to stick with one. The reason why there's some benefit to that is you want to use thinners, mediums that the company makes, and unfortunately not every company makes those. Vallejo does their own thinners. Gosh, what do I have? I have a mediums and paint thinner. I have the airbrush thinner. Where's that at? There should be a bottle floating around here somewhere. And those, you want to try to use the ones that come for the paint that you are using, because they are not 100% the same. You know, acrylic paints are generally similar, but not, and you can often mix and have no problems, but you don't want to have a problem if you're doing, I mean, maybe this is if you're doing show quality, you know, like contest entry type paint jobs or something like that, or I mean, I'm literally just doing stuff for the table. But I honestly believe you should buy the colors you need for the project you're working on, because I have so many paints that I've never even opened because I don't need that color. And you're saving some money, but you're not saving that much money that would justify spending that. So I will tell you this, almost every paint is quite good nowadays. So we went to an event at Gen Con. This paper has so much paint in it, it's not drying. At Gen Con, and they gave away They told us to take it. There was not, it was a kind of a messed up event, but this is Game Master. So these are meant for like fantasy, a fantasy paint line, but it is War Paints Fanatic. And it is, so this is Orc Gray, but in the Army Painter line, it's called Uniform Gray. I'm not 100% certain if that's, because they've expanded their line, so there's more military colors and things like that, but initially it was like game color stuff. These are not terribly expensive, and it's a small set. I mean, I can show you right here all of the paints. I believe this is it. You get the white, Lawful White, which is also, it's probably also called Awful White. No, let's see, where's the white? Probably down here. Nope, that's black. That's gray. Ash gray. Ooh, I like that. I didn't know I had that. So matte white. These are probably the same color. Matte white. Yeah, these are the same color. The chaos black or chaotic black, elven green, kraken blue, rosy skin, soft leather, wildflower orange, neutral red, excuse me, and angelic yellow. There's also, what is the yellow called? I think it's demon yellow. Let me get a mess here. Demonic yellow. It's the same color. So it's a pretty great set. It's available all over the place. It's, you know, not a ton of colors. It's literally 9 colors. And it's a good starting point if you want a standard acrylic. I am really advocating that you try the speed paints, or the contrast paints or the speed paints. I will tell you that you get a lot of paint for your money in all of these. These are 1.8 milliliters, or 0.18 milliliters, excuse me. Or no, it says 18 milliliters, 0.6 fluid ounces. When you buy these are a little bit bigger, the contrast paints. Let me see if I can find one here. Or no, these might be that size as well. I don't remember. Yep, they're 18 milliliters as well. These are $8, at least right now. They might have even gone up because, you know, the dollar is weak right now. You don't have to spend a ton of money to get started. And they last a long time. I literally replaced, good gosh, this one keeps doing this. So I hate these bottles. I keep sealing this bottle, and as it sits here, it pops off. And I do not know what's going on. But I will push this down and it will be lifted up tomorrow. Anyway, that's the one thing I don't really like about the Games Workshop paints. They are not my favorite for their bottles. The eyedropper bottles are pretty good. Now I'll tell you about my warnings with that stuff too. So I have this bottle here. This is the speed paint medium. I opened this up and pushed it out into this fidget popper palette I'm using, and I squirted it, and it just shot like a good, probably a third, if not half. I mean, it's actually pretty much empty now. So I lost a lot of it in that. So what you have to do, yeah, that's crazy. So I lost more than that, and I was able to use it mostly and recover a little bit because actually, thankfully, the palette was clean. But you have to clean the nozzle. So what I've done is I made this little paper. I took so I bought these inexpensive brushes from Royal Langnickel, and I'm not even sure, you know, they make them. They just might be repackaging them, but they're actually not terrible. And they're a lot of brushes. It's 144 brushes, and I got them for as little as $29, I think, on Amazon at one point. Prices go all over the place. But they came with these little handles that had no ferrule or anything, not a brush. It was just meant to protect the bristles of the brush. And I just pin viced in and put a piece of paper clip in there, and then I clean it out before I use it. So these have a risk too, that you can I mean, watch how easily this comes out of here. This is terrible. Like, why is it so lightly connected? And so it was probably not even that bag of a dried out nozzle that kind of messed me up. So they all have problems. Really what I'm getting to. Maybe some of the other brands like Vallejo's new ones. I love their new bottles. I will show you one here and the reason why I love them. So I have the white right here, game color. The bottles are very clear. You see the color completely through. Do I have the, I'll show you one if I have it might be over here. I have too much stuff over here. Oh, here we go. It's probably right here. It is. This is their bottles. I wish I could buy them. These are clear. You can absolutely see the color. The nozzle may be better. I don't know. I haven't used them enough to. I love the white. It's definitely different than this nozzle, as you can see. So it may be more firmly seated inside the bottle neck. Excuse me. Drink something here. But I really feel you shouldn't. Hey, that's the wrong topper. Hey, wow, that's crazy. That actually fit on there, no problem. Probably want to clean that out. Yeah, I love these bottles. I wish they sold them. These are okay, but you can see they're not exactly transparent. I do have, so I'm not in terrible shape because I'm running out of that. The nice thing is they do offer, I actually want this here because I use this more for this than I do with airbrushing. They do sell a bottle of the speed paint medium in a huge bottle. So what I'm going to do is put some of it into the existing one. It's exactly the same nozzle though, I believe. Not necessarily, it looks thicker. So you can see here, that's interesting. And the neck of it has more threads, so it might be better. So what I'm going to do is pull this easily replaceable, removable nozzle and put some of it inside this. And let me shake this up before I do this. And let me not knock that bottle down. So yeah, I think you'd be okay with any paints. Most of everything has revised lately. Even P3 got purchased by Steamforged and they've redone their line. I don't know about their availability yet. And then there's like Duncan Rhodes Academy. He has his paints, Too Thin Coats paints or whatever. And they're very nice. I have not bought any yet. I keep meaning to buy some, and they do sell them wow, look at that, it's thick. Gotta be careful. So that's in the nozzle. Wow. So yeah, be careful. Even this one, I don't want to press it too hard, but it absolutely has a thickened, it's thickened in the neck of the bottle. Wow, that's not even, I don't know how small that hole is. I don't want to pull the nipple out though, the bottle nozzle. Hey, but it comes out easily as well. This is not great. And so you can see it's gelatinous here. Yeah, that's gross. So yeah, these are, you know, that you kind of need to use them. It's one reason not to have too many paints because they, I bought this because I figured I'd be using the speed paint. Actually, I actually bought it after I made the spill. So I thought, you know, well, I'll need more speed paint medium. Let me shake that up a lot more. I don't know. You know, I definitely feel picking a line and sticking with it is pretty great, but really buy what you need to start off. Don't buy too much. I literally have, you know, let's see, there's 8 per shelf. 48 paints right there of the speed paints, plus another row that's almost full. And that's not everything. I mean, that's everything I have, but it's not all of them. And then I also have like 2 rows of shades, so like 16 bottles of shades. Maybe a little bit more. That sounds like the right number that they had. Wow, that's just terrible. Yeah, this is disturbing. I mean, it bothers me that I don't know. And it's not going to disintegrate inside there. Once it dries, it's a film. And so I'm hopeful that there's not that much in there, but there is some in there. And I'm really disappointed by this. This one too is just about, it has a little bit more friction to hold it in place. Let's see if we can do this without it spilling. Yeah, okay, there we go. Hey, look, it keeps clogging. I wonder if that's, you'd think that the solid stuff would float to the top, potentially. But yeah, squeezing the bottle is dumb. I mean, you can't see me doing it here. You're gonna make a mess if you press too much. So never squeeze these hard. And you know, as you heard me complain moments ago about the, yeah, I've never opened this bottle yet. And it's dried in the neck. The contrast paints have terrible bottles too. I really don't love them. Contrast paints, the Citadel. So Vallejo has their express paints. That's their kind of speed paint line. And they have expanded that line, and they've also changed their paint line. So, you know, they've recently gone through an upgrade, and I've used their express paints, and I really like them. And as I said, I used this white when I was in Germany 2 years ago, and came home and bought it right away because it was pretty great. It's really good with the airbrush. So I did these minis with the white. These are Warhammer Underworlds miniatures, and they might also just be in Warhammer Age of Sigmar. But they're these vampire ones, and I sprayed them, actually Sebastian Rattlecan sprayed them black, I think. And then I airbrushed the zenithal highlights on them. And then this is the Army Painter Speed Paint Red. It's like, I don't know if it's, I think it's bright red maybe, it could be, or maybe it's blood red. It's one of the colors, it's either bright red or blood red. I think it might be the bright red. It's amazing looking. Sebastian was freaked out, he's like, that's the color? I'm like, yeah, these things are great. You know, and I did some edge highlighting and stuff like that, but they're pretty amazing looking. And these are around $5, maybe $4.50 a bottle. So, you know, the $8 for the big one, big in quotation marks, the Citadel, and then $5 or so for the speed paints. Same amount of paint. I honestly feel you're going to get reasonably similar results. The one thing I do not like about the speed paints is they do like a weird, and this may not be every color because I don't know. I don't have them all, but they do a weird kind of flakiness as your brush dries. So it'll have it on the edge of the brush, and then it starts breaking off if you don't. And this is my problem, right? I'm not cleaning them often enough as I'm using it. You need to clean out your brush, you know, kind of reset, and then reload the brush. And it would flake off, and it would get residue. I don't have that happen like ever with the speed paint, with the contrast paints. So I'm not certain what that all is about, but it is a concern. So let's do his face, since I've been talking about his other stuff. So yeah, there you go. That's a clear plastic Meeple 15. It's absolutely just a clear plastic bottle. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's squeezable and everything. I really love their bottles. I mean, it almost makes the case to just start buying their paints and then clean the bottles and save them, you know what I mean? If they would sell them, I would buy them. I've looked around, you know, I mean, it's a European probably source, so good luck tracking it down for here. There's a friends, US Plastics, I think, a friend of mine has said that they have a bottle similar to that, but I have not found it. And, you know, it's a different type of plastic. But man, is it great. But, you know, they're $5 a bottle too, basically. And they're not made here. And, you know, it's an issue. I will tell you right now, Games Workshop is pretty much all over the place, and Army Painter does a pretty great job. And that's the other thing you kind of want to think about, how much you will have the ability to get that easily when you need the paints. Vallejo's here, and they used to be more present in my opinion, probably more hobby shop oriented, and I don't go to hobby shops as much as I used to. I mostly go to game stores. I gotta say, most of the time I'm disappointed with hobby shops. I was looking for Milliput, and I had to go. I ended up buying it. I found a model shop, sort of close, but they didn't even have what I wanted. I ended up buying just another version of the Milliput that would be fine, and that was a disappointment. And that's kind of like how it all works for me. I don't seem to. I mean, in California, you'd think we'd have more, and we do have some retailers, you know, but most of them have folded. And you know, the ones that we do have, the game stores that we have, they have Army Painter and Citadel. So yeah, you kind of want to get one that you're going to easily get. And you know, the paints between the ones that I'm using, when I have run out of color, so the one color I ran out of, basically, truthfully, even though I spilled some of it, was this Iandin Yellow. So this is my second bottle of it, since this was literally the first stuff I bought. In that, and I think the Plague Green was one. Let me see if I have one of the minis right here. I can show you. I'm pretty sure I do. So yeah, this one here. Doesn't, oh yeah, it does. It has a tabard. So yeah, this is, I bought this, what is this called? Aethermatic Blue? Sorry, I'm getting in the way here. That's not it. Yes. This is the Aethermatic Blue. The Plague Bearer Flesh is the green on the trees, and down here on this edge of the tabard. And then this is the yellow I bought, and that's in the middle here. And then I also bought, what is this brown called? So it wasn't a lot of colors. I probably bought 6 or 7 colors to do these. Wildwood, yeah, this is the brown. I really like Wildwood, it's a great one. And you know, that was several colors. I did a wet blend for the tabard. I did it all while it was wet, and it looks pretty good. It's not great. I did the same thing on the trees. I did the brown, and then I went into the green and wet blended it a bit, and then did the darker green, which is, oh, you know what the darker green might be? No, I don't remember. I'll have to look, see which one I bought. It probably is a green. But I'm sorry, you can't see that. I went to the store, looked at what they offered, minis-wise, you know, what the box cover was, and I just bought those colors. And I've used this, Aethermatic Blue is like one of my favorite colors. The Wildwood, all 3 of these colors are like some of my favorites, and they were the first ones I bought. Aethermatic Blue, Wildwood, Iandin Yellow, Plague Bearer Flesh. Really great. Really great stuff. So, you know, they're all pretty good. Now, the speed paints are coming up on 7 years. I mean, the contrast paints are coming up in 7 years, and the speed paints, I think, were introduced in 2021, and then had a reformulation like 2 years later because they had a problem where they would relatively easily be activated when you painted over them. And it wasn't all the colors, I believe, but a lot of people really loved it because you could blend, because enough of the color would come through and you could blend it. So, you know, that was actually kind of an interesting situation. I did not get any, I did use, so the one other color I really wanted was Fire Giant Orange. This is a 2.0. The color's still the same, but I used the 1.0 paint. These say 2.0 right here. See, I had paintbrush in the way. So I almost bought like a set of them just to try all those out, and then I just realized, I'm like, it does not matter to me. Yeah, I don't know if so I've let that one dry, the first one. I'm sure it's dry now, so we'll probably try to do a little bit of build of the green on it. But you can see here on his hair, it's kind of like, it's thick there. Now it's probably gelled a little bit, so I probably shouldn't be fiddling with it. But yeah, that looks pretty good. Now, it's not the green I want. I definitely want it more like this green. But you can see here where I've done the flesh. Now, one thing I didn't do on that green was add any contrast medium. And I want contrast medium. That probably would have actually been helpful. Would have reduced the intensity as I was doing that. But I'll do that now, and I will build it up. So yeah, if I do his head, if I stick with these colors, which I probably will, I'm going to have to redo his head. There's just no getting around it. It won't look the same if I use standard acrylics to then try to bring it to that level. So I'll have to touch it up with a white and gray. I might even be able to airbrush it. Boy, this paint is so thick. I mean, you know, the color is so dense. I don't know what it's going to look like here. It's going to be strong. Hey, time roller. But yeah, those Viejos are great. They're not as present. So literally 2 years ago, we went, and Sebastian had been converting all of his paints to just using the Viejo paints. And I think he was stunned by the quality of the Army Painter ones. But they're just not here as widespread. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe they're harder to get for retailers. I'm not sure. You know what? I don't want to use this brush too big. I want to use the smaller. Oof, this poor bristles here. What's going on? So this is sable. Don't let it dry. It had a little bit of paint in it. Now it was probably the green, so it wasn't very thick and very dark. But so to clean brushes, might as well do it right now since I actually let it dry. You should clean them, rinse them, and brush them. I have what's called a rinse well from Masterson. It's a bottle, inverted bottle that sits on. You can actually get cheaper versions of this on Amazon from other manufacturers, including, I mean, one of the ones I think that Green Stuff World uses is like one that they've branded that somebody else has made. And it's pretty cool. It's a smaller bottle, a smaller little pool. So it's inverted. There's a little pool that you have the water, and then there's a drain plug that you just press down on, and it empties out the water and puts in fresh water. It's pretty great. I tend to go through more water that way, but I also feel better about it because I actually have I feel the water's cleaner and it won't tint anything when I'm using I have a dark water in there and I'm using some light color. It's not that easy to mess up the color, but you still don't want to even risk it. Okay. Let me rinse this well. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty green still. So what I've done here is mixed it with the color, the green, the yellow green that I started with, the Sprite, and then I'm just blending it on, gotten on the buckle there. And you'll see it's giving me like the brighter green that I want. I'm still not at the greenish level that I would like, but I'm getting there. But you kind of creep up on the color that you want. It does mean that you're putting on more than one coat, but I generally do that anyway. Well, I will say here, the one thing about all of these paints is they're delicate. They're much more delicate than a standard acrylic paint. So you want to have more coats. So now that's too green. Now it's dark, so on the back of this, so. but I still want the yellow, the sprite to come through here. Eek. So these shoulder pads and these discs on his chest are going to be gold colored. So I'm sorry you can't see that. So it's a little too green. I'm just going to wick up the color. Clean it off and maybe get... I don't want to rush to the color that I'm shooting for. And this is kind of green up here. Maybe I want to thin it out a little bit as well. Like, too intense too soon, meaning, because it's becoming the color that I'm trying to avoid. Okay, let's do his hands slash arms here, or wrists. So I'm kind of want to avoid too much on the upper levels here. And I want to build it up in the shadows, essentially. So you can see there, I did not clean the mold line right there on his finger. I think I'm going to try to fix that here. Too green. It's darker on the underside, so it's not going to be quite the same result that I'm kind of shooting for here. But that's, I want the undercoating to help contribute to the shading. It's crazy how green just the tiniest amount of this stuff is. So what I'm doing is wiping some of it off with my finger, and you know, it's dry underneath, so it works. You get a pretty decent result. I'm really disappointed with that bit by that finger there that I didn't notice. I should have noticed it when I painted it earlier. Let me see if I can clean that up a little bit. I should let it dry though, because it'll just, well, maybe not. Let me see if I can just clean up the paint around it, because I don't want that really dark seam there. Oh, it's frustrating. I should be catching that stuff. And it comes, I mean, I'm not perfect about getting rid of the lines. But, let's let that dry. Yeah, the Vallejos are great. And you don't really notice it when you're looking at the bottle when it's full of paint. You can absolutely see the difference when it's got the thinner. But they're great. I don't know what type of play. Maybe it says, no. It says recycle. Yeah, Spain has a lot of great paint manufacturers. I believe some of the Army Painter paints were made there. At one point, anyway. It's interesting. I'm looking at this bottle. It has another label underneath it. Interesting. You kind of have to... Is there more information underneath? There might be. It does show, it shows a, so you can see here, there's definitely something underneath. But it shows like a foldback on the label right here. I've had medicine that has had information underneath it, but I've never had any paint ones. I'm having a hard time here. Oh, you know what? More languages. Very cool. So it's just one long label. Interesting. I think it's just on here slightly off, so that's why I noticed it. Probably on all of them. The funny thing is I was seeing that underneath the, I thought they were like just doing some sort of a, like a modeled finish, but it's the actual text underneath. So I think they all have that. Wow. On the few that I have here. Yep. This one's just labeled on there, but yeah, it's funny. I'm like, oh, I wonder why they do that. It kind of has this weird liney quality. Oh, it's because it's actual text underneath. Okay, so that's pretty much dry. Let's just try to cut that little ridge off, and then I'll have to touch it up with gray. That's not great. So this is the case to just make sure you see this. Look at the minis. I definitely have a better job. So this is one I did. Now, I guess Games Workshop has a bunch of new, I think including Lieutenant, gosh, whatever his name is, in the Space Marine, you know, so this is not even on here, on the Space Marine game, gosh, what's his name? Anyway, they had a bunch of problems with the flashing, like on the molds, so they didn't look great, and it's hard to clean. You really want, especially because these are expensive minis, you kind of want them to be as great, as best as they possibly can be. I mean, mistakes, you know, manufacturing errors happen all the time. It's not horrible, but it's not great. Okay, so what I need to do is put a little bit of gray. So I did see, I have that other gray here. Let me just try that one, this ash gray. Might be too, hey, that's not good. Might be too blue, but. Well, it's a pretty solid box. This is the Artist Opus box, and it just took a tumble. Let me put that down here, though. So I've never used this. It does have the mixing balls inside. See, all of them have the mixing balls preloaded. These are stainless, I believe, so. But I'm just going to put a little bit on his finger and then hope that my other colors will mostly cover that up. One of the things, I wouldn't put a white on there. I often don't use straight white because white reads as white pretty easily. I'm not using the wet palette at all so far today, but I'm going to right now. Light colors read as white pretty easily. So if you use like a light gray, it goes on a little bit better. This is something I learned from Vincent Venturella, because I've had terrible luck with whites. I just am not good at it. And Vincent puts on, uses a off-white colors all the time as his white, and it reads pretty great. Okay. I'm going to need to poke it out. It's the first time I've ever used it. I don't know how loose it is. It seems pretty solid on that one, but I don't want to risk it. Okay, a little bit on the wet palette here. So a wet palette, if you don't know, is you can make your own. Adam on Tabletop Minions uses a, believe he still uses, like, why waste your money? He's not a lunatic like me. I have like at least several different wet palettes. I have an original one that I used to use that was like it's over here, it's a it's a metal tray with a porcelain, like a ceramic finish or whatever. But what it is it's a sponge. It's essentially a sponge with paper that will let the water pass through. I mean, all paper will do this because paper is a barrier that the water will soak through, and it lifts it up, and then through the passing through the paper keeps your paint moist. And you want them to, you don't want mildew to build up. So I basically do not carry my paint over from job to job, because the reality is I'm not trying to, the paint doesn't really last. So this is distilled water. I'm just going to put a little droplet of it here. This is the same, I've used this same piece of paper for 4 or 5 paint sessions so far. This is not a paint, this bristle is not great. This is not a reusable, necessarily a reusable sheet of, it's probably like vellum or, I'm mixing up a lot here, just to do this little teeny bit of finger. Parchment from a baking sheets parchment. I don't know what this is. I'm pretty certain it's a vellum. So I'm going to just put a little bit over that part. It already almost kind of matches, right? But it looks way better. It does not have that giant lump on it. This is like a warmer, sort of maybe a warmer, it seems neutral. It definitely seems more neutral than this one. This one is warm, although they're probably similar. Anyway, I'm going to let that dry. It's going to get darker. I might put a little bit of white in it, and you know, his knuckles look kind of beat up too. Looks like green Santa Claus. Well, you know what? I'm going to paint his head white too, because I'm going to go ahead and try to re-coat with the new color. So there you go. That's going to be risky, but we're going to try it. I'm not even happy since that one got messed up when I put the brush in his face, the green on his beard and on his mustache and on his. So this is going to be a couple coats, and you have to let it dry. You cannot let it. You cannot put anything over it, or it'll just be a problem. And it takes a while. I mean, I might be able to paint it in an hour or so, but I don't know that I will. But since I'm doing this guy with this other green, I think I want to try to do the whole thing that way. Now he's not going to have the shading because I'm basically covering it up. Boy, that looks terrible. This brush is too thin. I like this brush, but this is a 0 from Monument Hobbies. It's the older style ones. They've changed their, I think they've also changed their source for sable, because, you know, it's, I guess, Russian, right? It's sables are from Russia, although there might be sables elsewhere. And I've used sables brushes a lot. I mean, I will be honest, I'm mostly a synthetic guy, but I do like, I mean, I've used sables forever because I used to use Winsor Newtons when I was in college and high school. And you could get them for inexpensive. I don't even know, they were expensive to me back then, but they're now quite expensive, and I'm sure they're even worse since the last time I bought some. So yeah, you don't want to coat, you kind of don't want, you know, it's the whole too thin coats thing that Duncan Rhodes talks about. You definitely want to go that route. So here I'm going to try to preserve his eyes that have already painted, that are only okay anyway, but But I might get away with just doing this one coat and then doing the green on top of that. Now, the issue, of course, is I've made this green that I'm using, so I may try to dry I don't have a blow dryer right here, but I might blow dry it to try to be able to move on to the other color before it dries up. I have a lot of it mixed, so it isn't going to go away real quickly. But the nice thing is, because here in Southern California, the palettes just, your paint dries so quickly, and a wet palette allows you to go longer before either needing to apply paint to the palette or clean it up. I imagine in the winter months it's probably great as well, just across the country as it's cool, and you know, it seems to dry out pretty quickly. It's not going to be the same. Probably going to need to put a little bit of white on here. But this is not a bad color. This is out of the bottle, just mixed with a little bit of water to thin it down. So I have only used the Army Painter War Paints Fanatic. I bought these probably 8 to 10 months ago, maybe. I barely use them. I should try their white. I mean, I ended up buying that other brand, the Vallejo Game Color White. Is that a Game Color? Yes. Because, you know, they have military ones and stuff like that as well. So I had that whole brushing thing that I did here that I'm just throwing away, basically, where I was integrating the beard into the skin. I will do that after, because the beard is kind of yellow in the pictures here. I don't know if it's I don't know what the story is on that. But I'm trying, the reason why I'm painting the gray instead of a white, and the white will be too white, but additionally it cakes up too much. If you notice, this actually looks pretty smooth. And that's because I'm not using a straight white. If you can apply white very smoothly with not much working it, it'll come out fine. I am not that person. I tend to overwork it no matter what I do, and it just cakes. As a matter of fact, I will show you the shame of my of my minis here. Let's see. Is this one? So yeah, here you go. This is me, and this is me not painting white. It was actually a Vallejo paint that was an older flesh tone, and then I washed it, and it just doesn't look great. It's very caked on because I overwork it and probably started with it too wet. So it's already pretty dry. I think I might just try to do a little bit more highlights on it so that so I'll mix in a little bit of white. But you can see, you can actually redo and fix problems. It's definitely not light enough though. Because, you know, if you look at, let's just look at, water on that. Let's just look at the two heads, right? One is much darker. So I'm going to put on I'm probably going to do a little bit more shading here. I will actually use this new Game Color. Is this the one that I've opened? I think so. Yes. I have 2 bottles. I went crazy and bought 2 bottles, and I've barely used any of them. Yeah, I couldn't imagine using glass bottles anymore. I have some old glass bottles. I actually have decanted most everything into dropper bottles that I purchased that are okay. So I have like my gloss varnish from one of the companies in this bottle I bought. You'll notice it's much bigger. It does not fit. It's the frustration with these. I did all this research on trying to figure out the size. The nozzles are way better on this. The lids tend to split though if you over tighten. So I don't over tighten them. But I still use them, but I leave these basically out or in a larger paint bottle set instead of the ones designed for Army Painter / Vallejo. He's pretty, it's kind of a gray, bad gray, but it'll be better. I'm not going to worry about it too much because, yeah, you have to really shake the heck out of white too. You got to really get it mixed up. I may even just do the other one. I do like it. It's not like I have a ton of green on him. And I mean, he looks like an orc. I'm going to keep, well, this one's not done. This one's the one's being done. It's better. It's getting there. And I'm going to just keep adding the regular green and use this other green. I almost want to save the green. I don't know that I can. What time is it? It's 12:11. I have to stop relative in a bit. Okay, it sounds like it's mixed up. Once again, poke with, this one does look like it's cleared, but I will, no matter what, I will poke it through to make sure it's, wow, this yellow is not drying. Keep getting on my fingers. So I'm going to put it, and I'm not going to use the straight white anywhere. I'm going to mix in a little bit of gray and water, and I'm going to sort of glaze it on to give it a, to brighten. Wow, that it comes out pretty easily though. Good gosh. Maybe they're just not designed to stay on there that well. This brush, I did not clean it. You really need to be good to your natural bristle brushes. Wow, I am a knucklehead. So one of the things you can do, I noticed earlier there was one of these hairs that was poking out. It's not there now. But when you do this, when you use these, is this the stuff? Oh yeah, because I have an empty bottle somewhere, which I need to get rid of. It barely has any weight. I mean, it's a lot of empty plastic. I don't feel it's very deep in there. But regardless, it lasts a long time. Literally, the other bottle that I just finished last year or something like that, I'm sure it was last year, I had had for decades. I might have even had it since college, I don't know. They last a long time, but what you do is when you're done cleaning, you leave it, you know, you go, I drag it, like I do it in the palm of my hand. It's a very delicate brush, so I'm not gonna go too crazy here. But I do this, I pull it across my hand to get the paint out of the ferrule, which is this metal connection tube that holds the bristles. And when I'm done, and I'm probably done with this for today, I just leave it in there and it dries and helps straighten the bristles. Natural bristles can recover where synthetics have a harder time. I have actually finally tried to snap synthetic bristles back by heating them. So what you do is you put them in hot water, and then I would do, you can, hey, thanks for the follow, Epic Xpeach Plays, I don't know. So there's a hook to this brush that you can't really see. This is not one I've done it to. But you can put them in hot water, so you can kind of see it there. You can put them in hot water and it will kind of re-snap the bristles, and it works pretty good. Now, this is not a terribly expensive brush. This is Saks. I don't remember, was it, I think it might have been Sam Lenz talking about these. And I found them on like a school supply website and was able to buy them, and I like them. Now this is one I've used for a little while. Do I have another one sitting here that I've used recently? I don't think so. This may be the one I've used the most. This does not look like it's, this one's been used. So these two have been used, but I bought these, had to be at least a couple years ago now. And I use them all the time and they work pretty great. And they're Golden Taklon, which is a synthetic. So they're great. And then again, I have all these Royal Langnickel. This is a 4. It's tired, but it, you know, I can do larger coverage, no problem. And when it was new, and I have a lot of these, it's pretty fantastic. You know, they, especially for using, because you definitely shove the paint around on when you're doing this kind of zenithal highlight with the, hey Amanda, when you have the painting minis with the speed paints, contrast paints. So these are the, there's actually a bad brush. This is a 2. This is, I actually use this one for latex, to put on latex frisket, which is a, you can use it to cover up stuff. But these come to hold the paint brushes so that they don't, you don't destroy the bristles. So I just use these. This is now, I've got one of these used as a tool, right? I also use it to mix paints and to put paints on. You can notice they're shorter too, right? So this is the actual brush, and it's shorter than these. So that's to protect the bristles in storage. Because it's a tube of, do I have one, the tube sitting here? I think I do. Yes. It's this tube. Let me, if I can get this out of here. So I bought these. It says it looks, these were made in February. So, you know, they're made in China, probably. Yes, made in China. But they're golden Taklon round brushes, real nickel. I got these, probably this bottle for $29, and I bought another bottle on eBay for about $40. I'm not certain that they're still like that, but they're, you know, it's, look at the bristles. They have a reasonable point. The smaller ones are not great. It's the downer. I like the 4s, the 5s, the 6s, and the 3s. But I think this one was a 2 or a 1. It's a 1. They're not so great. Actually, have I opened this one? I must have. I bet you it doesn't have any of those little these in there. Doesn't look like it. You would see it per bundle. But anyway, I took them out because I like them as tools. You know, that's inexpensive and you can go a long way with them. It's not a bad deal, especially if you're beginning, you know. It also encourages you not to be too delicate with, you know, like precious with your brushes. You can, especially using acrylic paints, you can just use them and put these back. You can use them and toss them and use it, or not toss them, but use them for your next stage of your whatever you're doing. You can use it to do terrain. You can use it to do goodness gracious here, terrain, washes. I mean, you know, they have, and dry brushing, you know what I mean? You can use them for dry brushes as well. This latex was terrible. Like, you do not want to use a good brush. And I think there's still some latex in there. I think that's what the darker stuff at the top is. Maybe alcohol might break that down. I don't know. I don't think, you know, synthetics are durable. They can do that with, I mean, as far as using, oof, that looks terrible. As far as using it with tougher paints, right? But the latex, you definitely want to use an old brush, and you can clean them with alcohol. I've actually, so there's denatured alcohol. I don't know what that's, I don't know exactly what that is here. I don't think they sell it in California anymore. It used to be like what they would use for like sterno kind of stuff, heaters, like, and it's super flammable, so I don't think they sell it here anymore. But that is what a lot of people use to clean your brushes. I don't know what the story is on that, because it'll break down the acrylic. And I've used regular isopropyl, 99% isopropyl alcohol to clean brushes, and it does fine. But you definitely want to clean it out when it's done. I mean, people use alcohol to, you know, with acrylics all the time. I'm nervous about that. I only use thinners that are designed, you know, this airbrush thinner that's kind of like a soap. I don't know exactly what it is. Dude's color, blah, blah. 26 thinner brush on colors. do it by a maximum of 50%. I don't know, they don't have a, they must have a MSDS, a sheet, materials safety data sheet, to tell you what is involved. You kind of want to know. Any kind of scary stuff, you want to make sure you know what is involved in it and if it's flammable. Okay, so this is pretty clean. It's got some soap in it still. I also have the Gentastics brush cleaner that I just used a little bit. It's also from Monument. They've changed it looks way more professional. It's not this anymore. And it actually looks smoother. It's brush goop is what hers is called, but it's just a soap. I've used it. It seems good. It does not have like the small amount of grit that this one seems to have. And I feel like that little amount of grit does a good job. Yeah, the original bottle of this did not have a barcode. That's so old it didn't have a barcode. So I honestly think I had it since I was in high school. And it lasted me forever. Okay, so I want to use some of the water. Let me just see if I can go with the... Nope. But yeah, you want it to go on thin. I don't mind it being a little darker towards the edge because I'm going to incorporate that into the shading anyway. It's dried fast enough that I probably will stick around here to try painting the green on it. I don't know. I mean, it's not a big deal. I put like essentially like a drop of the green, this green that I'm using here into the Iron Jaws yellow contrast paint here. And it looks good. It doesn't look too gray. It's crazy. The colors in the bottle don't represent that well. One of the things I purchased some 3D models from I think it was 3D Cult is what it's called, from a maker on 3D Cult, and it's just little toppers that you can put on top of these bottles. I think it's basically common on all of these bottle sizes. Oh, well, these are both the same thing. Why is that speed paint medium right there? Oh, I took the blue out and mixed it up. Let's look at these bottles. They're little, yeah, these will probably be the same. They're like little things that I can just glue on the top of the bottle with like hot glue and then prime them and then paint them so that you can put the colors so you know what it looks like dried. And I think I'm going to do it so that it's fully dried and it's because I think what I bought, I'm pretty certain what I ended up buying was little coins. They're a little stack of coins that you 3D printed on and glued on there. And so you'll see how it shades, like going into recesses and stuff like that. But I want to see what it is without actually diluting it and know what its nature. Now, again, like that one, the Ironed in Yellow, was quite yellow. It's very orange, but when you put it on and thin it a bit with the contrast medium, it's very yellow. It just does not look like that in the bottle. I was very disappointed with the yellow until I really tried it with the contrast medium. Okay. Well, gosh, I may just do this on the other one. Go for it. Again, his head is not white enough, so I'm going to have to do another layer. You don't want to put too many layers on. Boy, I hate covering this up, but I think I want to try to go for it. They want you to go for it. But you can come back from contrast paints. People don't like that it's kind of like do or die, but I've even, like, I touched up that knuckle. Let's just do a little bit of it right now. Actually, I'll put a little bit of light on here because I think it's too dark. And then we'll put it on there, and you'll see that it's not perfect, but it's way more consistent than you think. And it'll look good. It'll look better than it does now, or before we started. Now it's kind of brushy there. I'm actually probably running out of the gray, so I'll probably need to mix a little bit more. But I like messing these things up because you can see that you can fix things. It's not impossible. Contrast paints, because they're transparent, and speed paints, it's not all over if you've made a mistake. And if you do it correctly, where I did not do that on the Black Widow, you won't see the brush marks. It won't be a problem if you do it thin enough. So also the palette paper tends to, since it's not a reusable palette paper, there's a they call it gosh, what do they call it on Redgrass has palette paper that is reusable. Gosh darn it, I forgot what they call it though. It's but it's just paper that has a finish. So one side of it is the one that you use. You rinse it, you let it dry. I watched a pretty great video from, and I think he was using the Redgrass stuff, from the Wily Wizard, I think. I can't remember his name. He has several channels. I've talked about his paint rack that is just amazing. I don't have room for a paint rack like that, but I sure would like to try. I don't have the welding skills and all that to do it, but he definitely did a really wonderful job on it. But he did a thing where he was talking about reusing the paper. He had actually 3 sheets, and he would, gosh darn it, he would mix between the multiple sheets. So yeah, this paint, I think I'm painting in an area that I'd already used, and the palette paper is it's relatively big. This, can't really see it here, but it's rectangular, very wide rectangular. But it starts to, as you use it, it starts to, the gray is right here somewhere. It starts to frizz up and you can't use it. You have to move to another spot on the palette. And it's just easy because I don't use it that much. I just dry it off, let it dry in between sessions, and then I don't paint, at least right now I'm not painting off enough that I need to have more than one sheet of paper, because it'll be dry by the next time I go. I will say I do like this gray. This is the Army Painter War Paints Fanatic. This one is, what was this one called? It's called, I keep moving them like far from here it is. It's called Ash Gray. So what is the true color? It's just gray. So that's another neat thing about their colors, is they have their like fantasy name or whatever, and then they tell you there's like a more standard color name, and this is just gray. Let's see what the darker gray is called here. So this is deep gray, and it's a very dark gray. And that's the only two that I know. Is this one? No, that's the white. think I need a little bit more white because I'm mixing. I'm actually lightening this up even more since I don't want to have to get to that. Wow, when it's fresh, this comes out of the bottle, you know, because it's not clogged in the tip. Comes out of the bottle very, very easily. So I have too much paint in the brush. I want to get it wicked out a little bit so there's a little moisture in it, and then I put it into the brush to load it so that it doesn't get too close to the ferrule. That's what causes the brushes to spread, the bristles to spread. This is a little wet, and I didn't add a lot of water, but the white was very wet coming out. So they did update, CMON did update their pre-order and crowdfunding campaign shipping, you know, progress for each of the projects. This one, they're still not done with the models, which is, you know, very worrisome considering this was supposed to be delivered already. It makes me feel a little better because I don't have, I mean, I have the pressure of I want to get these done, but I don't have that next wave of stuff coming in anytime soon. And if I get lucky and continue to try to paint a little bit more on my spare time, I could make him the Gray Hulk, right? Just leave it like this. So I did get the Gray Hulk, and I think he is in gray plastic. Wow, this is not going on as nice as the other. Maybe just because I'm putting it on too quickly. Let it dry, don't do any more. Let's do his torso. So I only have one copy of William Leslie. I have one copy of Multiverse myself, but I'm painting Scott's and another friend. So I have 3 sets, and they're pretty complete. I'm not sure. I basically bought them. I bought one for Scott of the Witching Hour, which was the Hulk. I bought one for Scott, and I bought one for my friend. So there's, you know, because I'm actually having fun painting 3 at a time and learning how to try to do that. Since they're all kind of, you know, kind of boss level minis, you want them all to look pretty nice, and I want them to be consistent, even though you'll never see them together, but you guys get to see them when it's on the stream. So yeah, I have a lot of minis to paint. That's one reason why I want to wait on the DC Superheroes United. Although I will tell you, I want them to deliver. I'm very happy with the Hush that you can buy right now. That looks really nice, and I really had fun painting those minis. So DC is kind of more my thing when I read comics, but I was not a major comic book reader. So you notice it dried and actually looks pretty smooth here. I'm just going to put another coat on it. And you know, so here's what I'm doing right now is essentially, I'm going to sort of almost this color. This is the undercoat that I used on those minis that I showed, this one here. This undercoat is this color. It's called Gray Seer, and it was a rattle can, and it was great. But this is what I used as the undercoat. I didn't use white. They did send me, I have the can of the White Scar, which is their new white that's now 2.5 years old, or no, 3 years old, because I think it came out in 2022. Let's see here, 2022. I'm pretty sure I got it the year that it was, those are labeled. Sometimes they're copyrighted a little earlier than actual release, but I think that was correct. Anyway, and it's great. You get really great results. You don't have to do the zenithal highlight that I'm doing on these now, because you know the contrast paints do sort of that stuff already. But when you do it over a zenithal, it's a little bit for me, a little bit more exciting and maybe slightly less comic book looking. But as I say, I was more of a DC guy. But even then, I wasn't really. I was more like Batman, because I was into the Dark Knight and stuff like that. The Frank Miller stuff. And I liked the Watchmen books. Also, I was a compendium reader. I never collected the releases as they were going. I don't have the focus to actually get in there and get them. This is terrible. The paper is disintegrating here on where I'm at, basically on the palette, so I think I need to relocate the whole edge. I should rotate it. I always think I'm rotating it to the other corner, and I don't think I've ever done it once here. Oh, it looks like I might have painted over there once. There's a little bit of color there. But I do like the Marvel stuff. I mean, I have read none of the comic books since the MCU came out. Nikki has, and she's into that stuff. Way more comic book than me. She was buying them when they were coming out and stuff like that in college, I think. But I'm story-driven in that regard, even though I love visual stuff. Comic books just don't have... I want to get through the story, right? It's weird. I have no patience. I don't even know the release cycle on those things. I don't know if they're monthly. But... Oh, I want to put a little bit, the whole point was doing a little bit lighter on him. So what I'm going to do here is try to do a little bit of highlighting just so it's one of the things I do on the hair. So like on Black Widow, actually maybe, no, that one's not the one, maybe this one. So I underpainted white lines underneath before I put the contrast paint on top to give it, like, you know, some specular kind of highlights from the sun. And it looks pretty great. It's one of the things I like to do, and that's what it's going to happen on these bristles on his hair, where I've highlighted some of the streaks, you know, just natural stuff. Wow, that's already dried, and I put that highlight on there, and you cannot tell. Wow. So one of the things is the paint, when it dries, it darkens. So it's difficult to tell unless you just have the experience. It's difficult to tell what the end color is going to be. So I put a little bit of white in there. And so I do this sometimes on the gray coat, where I will put almost a white highlight, if not a white highlight. Before I put the contrast paint on it, speed paint, contrast paint. That looks pretty good though. And it's not too bad. I'm not a huge fan of it because you don't want to get it too brushstrokey, but it's looking pretty good. So let me get these done. And then maybe I can repaint this before I finish, even though I should be. I do have things I need to do today. DC, and I really hope it delivers. Are you guys going to stream any plays with your Painted Maze? Absolutely. I think we're going to actually do an episode, William Leslie. I really wanted, finished the DC Superheroes one last week or 2 weeks ago. It must have been 2 weeks ago because we didn't, oh no, we filmed on Sunday. And we just weren't ready. I hadn't played it in a while, and I had played none of the new stuff. I played no, wow, this is too wet. I mean, too dry. I did none of the multiverse, and I've definitely done none of the DC. Now, I will admit, on the DC stuff, since I don't know all of the stuff, there was tons of characters I had no idea what they were. But I like the Marvel stuff. I think they've done some really great minis, and I think they're fun designs. And I like the chibi stuff. I don't know what the deal is, but I do like it. Because we've streamed some, but see, I touched the back. We've streamed some, but we only ever did the first one on the show. So I'd like to try to do one of the newer ones just to show it. I think they're great, and I would like this to survive, I hope. I really don't know what's gonna happen. This is kind of too bright for this, but that's okay. It's flesh, it'll be different than the rest of the minis, so. The good thing is you don't have to, if it's close, like if I get a little bit of it on, I'm going to change the color of these bracers or whatever the wraps on his arms are, and I want them to appear different, so I don't think I want any green underneath it, but if I just put a little bit of the gray or white on it, you aren't going to notice it. I'm probably going to use the one of the metallics, the speed paint metallics. I do have all of those because I really wanted it. I was excited about that. I like, I don't know about their golds, but I like Vallejo's golds, and the metallic color, or metal color, I think they're called. I'd mentioned Vincent Venturella earlier. He did a video. He's done a lot of videos about metallics, but he did a video comparing them to his favorite, where he talked about his favorite metal colors with these new speed paint metallics, and he was very impressed. I'd say this is pretty good. It's starting to thicken up. It's probably me overworking it on the brush and not enough moisture on the palette. But he is no longer green. It'll probably be fine. So let's let him dry and see if that will work okay. And let's get back to this guy. Do you have everything from all 3 Marvel Kickstarters? Yes. I've painted 100 and something minis so far because I've completed all of season 1 at least once and basically 1.5 times. And then I have a little bit of like 2 boxes of, I have the main base box of X-Men, and one of the other ones, I've not painted Deadpool, which is one I'd like to do. And I really like them. I like painting them all, and they are all better. Like, they improve the quality on the plastics between the first and the second waves. I don't know how. Let's just paint his green. He's been drying the. Well, the other one's dry, but yeah, let's wait. I'll paint a little bit more in a moment. So now I already have the yellow that I want on here. I think it's the right intensity. Now I'm going to put a tiny bit of the green in there, and I'm going to do the blending I really was trying to do a little too soon. And again, you can use, because this is wet and you have the undercoat of that color already, you can push it back. You can go back and forth a little bit on it. Because cleaning it up, right, it just brings it down to the green I already have. So I'm going to keep doing that. And that's just a little brush, a thin brush of it as a highlight. And I'm not even using any of the other green yet, because this is kind of where I want it to be darker. Okay, so I got a little bit more on the bicep that I don't want. So yeah, you can, since I'm painting inside out, and this is just a gray, now I'm just using a slightly damp toothpick to clean it up. But you don't have to do that. You can just put a little bit of gray on the edge, and it will, it should be pretty good. I don't really would try to, for me, I'm going to try to avoid it on the shoulder pads, because I want them to be smoothish. I almost feel like you want it to be airbrushed, which I don't think I will do. We'll see how it does, because I haven't really used the metallics as much as I'd like to. I would like to learn, use them more. So I'm kind of panel lining the the edges here to darken it up, so that when I go darker, it will just keep getting darker there where I want it to be, and I can be a little sloppier with it potentially. Although you can see here I did this and it doesn't look great. I do want it to be darker in between his fingers, so. And you have to keep looking out for the pools. You do not want the pools. They don't help. It's tight in there. And I think they're kind of like a silvery blue or whatever here on these wraps or whatever the heck's going on with that. So I'm kind of like, when you're doing this, you're sort of extending the, I mean, I'm specifically trying to do something different here. But if you're not going to take advantage of the contrast paint speed, it almost makes the case of just going to doing it as a standard acrylics. I like standard acrylics, but I don't know. So we need to let that dry because it's already starting to gel. So let's go to this where I painted his head. So you can see it already looks actually pretty great. Because there is some shading, I left some green coming through on the edges. And I do want to make him darker so it'll all blend eventually. And you know, it's not exactly the same intensity, but it's not that green, and I'm working in the same range as the other one I'm working on right now. And that looks pretty good already. Now that's a little bit wet and it's already starting to dry. So don't touch it anymore, and then I'll do the green. So this guy was entirely the other green. Just, I might be painting it a little too soon here. But I'm only going to do the green coat first. I'm not going to worry about the blending at this point at all. But in this case, I want more yellow. I mean, I want it to have a more yellow thing, but I still want the darker greens. So this is where I feel I need to be doing this sort of blending to get those results. So it's starting to gel a little bit. The paint is getting old in the palette. Not good. I often tend to pull paint directly out of the pot, or I have to use the palette, I feel, with the speed paints, but the contrast paints, I just take them out of the pot. But I've gotten to be where that I really prefer to increase the intensity, start out with it lighter, and then build it up. And that is basically just because of the undershading, right? It's probably not necessary if you go with just doing the white, right? You can do this color straight, get some nice results, and let the speed paint do what it's supposed to do, which is you apply it on relatively, not too thick, but sort of kind of like a little heavy coat-ish, and then remove the pools, and then just let it go. I mean, it was the one I showed you here, Sylvaneth, that's not what this is called. It's it was one go. It's not completely done. As you can see, that little flying thing is separate, and it was off of it, but I haven't, I do things in stages if it's not impossible. It's harder with, it's impossible with these CMON ones because they come assembled. It is the one thing I mean, it's a plus and a minus. For me, the minus is I tend to miss mold lines, which is frustrating because I'm generally pretty diligent about that, but I just don't, because I clean them before I assemble them when I do the assembled minis. Like the Games Workshop ones, I absolutely did it before I, as best I could before I primed it even. keep seeing this wisp of hair and thinking it's an ear. Especially with them painting him as green, he could be a goblin or something here. So that looks pretty good. I covered up the green. It doesn't look too heavy. I need to let it dry because I think I was a little too quick to paint it. Although it didn't get, you can tell when it reactivates, it gets kind of milky. It didn't do that, so I think I did okay. Let's see here, where are we at? Come on. When I have a thing pop up, I have to, out of the control window, I have to get rid of it or it's gonna give me grief. So his head does not match the green exactly because it was too gray. It will be fine. I can actually probably start a little bit of it right now. What time is it? Is it nearly 1? Oh, it is 1. What I wanted to do is just get closer to the green that I have on his arms. Ooh, that's too much. I'm starting to run out of the lighter green, but now that was literally a drop of the Carandaras green in the Iron Jaws yellow. So it should be fine. Now I have to stop. It's already starting to gel. So maybe I was too soon. Oh, hey, there's where I painted the finger. Let's do that. But you can see, it actually looks okay. Does not have, I really can't see, it's not dry, but I can't see where that mold line I didn't take care of was. And so this one here is not great. I don't know what happened on that. I think that was probably manufacturing. I mean, they all seem to have a little bit of a chunkiness to them. Yeah, I got a little bit pooled here. And I cannot touch it because they are all kind of wet, so they're still gelled. Well, whatever, I'm happy, those look good. They all look more alike. This one's got obviously more of the green shading going up. Oops, sorry, head in the way. But it'll get there. These will all be similar when I get it. That one's a little dark. I will be going darker. I may just stop on his face. I need a little bit on the front. Before it dries, I'll just do it. But I think it's a little too dry. I'll probably go back and do some bristle marks to have the hair tie into the scalp a little bit. And then I'm going to wash that at some point with like a very pale, like sepia color or something like that, maybe. Although his hair, it does kind of look like a brownish color. Golden brown, I don't know, but it's not gold. It's very grayish brown. Anyway, well, there you go. Thank you for joining me today. Thanks for the chat. I may actually go back. I have to clean the palette, but I may go back here tonight if I have time and clean up some of the mold lines I'm seeing here in the hair. And you know, I felt like I did them all. I don't know. But they look cool already. They're almost really kind of, you could go with it. I mean, it's not Hulk color. I will go more to this kind of green, a little bit darker. But I want the yellow. I like it in their paint job. It's on his face more. The back of his head is darker. I mean, that's what you want to focus on anyway. You want the faces to be brighter. And I can do that. Like I said, if you blend it and then you do a wash over it, it will, you kind of want to avoid the most front part, but you do want it to integrate a little bit more. Hey, Sirk, how you doing? How's everything going? That's hilarious to me. That is not a great, I never have luck with that one. I'm using the Apple Intelligence, you know, the assistant. I'm not using it, but it's coming up. Anyway, been doing good, busy. Hope to be a little freer here. We are ahead on projects a little bit. Although I have to build projects for Derek to edit. We have a ton of shows we've filmed. I really like that ash gray. I think that one's pretty helpful. This wet palette that they, oh, I see there's a cable in the way. It's not a wet palette, it's this paint rack. When you buy the 50 set, at least in the beginning or for now, they have like a pressed, an MDF kind of tray that's printed. You know, it's very nice, but it's not great. It has just like a U shape to hold the bottles. So let me clean the brushes. I have a lot of the green left, so you know I didn't get there, and I don't want to. It's just the green, so it's not that big of a deal. Plus the contrast medium. I really want to do all of them though, because I want to try to keep them up to that level. Other than his head, which isn't terrible, I may do a little bit of cheating on that and put some yellow into it and see what it does. I want his face to be brighter. It's generally what I prefer. So I might glaze a little bit of yellow into the front of his face, like on the highlights here, on his nose, on his cheeks, to bump it up, and then coat it with maybe just a glaze of one of these greens, you know, thinned out. It's not the same as the shades though. The shades, and it would be a glaze or a shade. The shades are thinner, and I really like them. This is the Reichland Flesh shade. These are both the newer bottles. I have like they're probably tucked away here. I don't really want to tuck them away. I do want to use them, but I have like the larger bottles that they used to have. So there's Seraphim Sepia. So you can see how much more they gave you. They changed them all to be 18, so it's 6 milliliters less. And I bought some as I found them, but I also had some. They're different. The whole shade system is it feels a little bit different, but it's not terrible, and it's light, generally. And I do have a green. I have a couple greens maybe. Let me see. They almost always have too many greens in my opinion, but in all the lines here that they have. But I have Bealtan, Coelia green shade. That's kind of leaning towards the blue, it looks like. Poxwalker. Notice how much white is in this one here. I don't really know what Poxwalker, it looks like it's a green, but you have to shake it a lot to get, this is a shade, and it's got a lot of pigment in it. It's really kind of a contrast paint. Bealtan. Croak green. You know, I'll experiment with these. I'm not going to just put them on. Camo shade, I mean, that seems like it's a kind of greenish brown. I mean, it's crazy the grains that you get in these systems. Anyway, let me switch glasses wherever I put those. Over here, so I can see. Well, I can't see. Can only see up close with these readers. I don't even need to have readers, but I do when I have a mini in my face. So thanks for joining me. Thanks for the chatter. What is the character I'm painting? Hey, Meeple15, I am painting Maestro. He is a supervillain version of Hulk. I don't know exactly what happened to him. I don't know if he'll show up in the MCU at some point. But he's cool. So yeah, I'm painting 3 of everything. I have 3 of everything from this point on, because this was the most recent one. And I think that my friend shipped it all to me, all of them together. So it was after those were delivered. So I think that was 2024. That seems right. Because they basically were delivering when they started the other Kickstarter, the crowdfunding campaign, because that one they used GameFound. I kind of feel like, I don't know what those companies are doing when they do that. Anyway, let's see if there's anybody we can raid. Go to the Oh, that's Stream Elements. I do wish that I was able to, it's multiple clicks to get to this stuff nowadays. We're probably going to rate, heck, we might have already be ended. We might have Rado run through right now going. I think that we did that last week though. But if they're running, we'll go for it. Let's see who we're following. So yeah, Maestro Hulk. I don't know what his story is. Let's just cut to the underneath. You can see the down cam. Nope, that's me again. What did I do? Let's see who we're following. I mean, Amanda is probably going to stream soon. It's the R&R show, but no Rado. Interesting. Gosh, they've been up for an hour? Is that right? Oh, I guess so. They start at noon. Let's read Time Roller. He was just here a little bit ago. If you're on Twitch and you want to join in, just click through. When it pops up, I'll start the raid now. Thank you so much for joining me. Thanks again for the chatter. Thanks for the support, follows, and everything. This is great. We'll be back on Thursday with a regular game night live stream. Nikki and I'll play something. So it looks like we can go now. Thanks, everybody. It's only a couple people there. I hope 15. Let's do it. Thanks, everybody. Bye. And YouTube folks, thanks so much for joining me. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the chatter. And I will see you hopefully next time. Again, Thursday we'll be here doing game night, and I won't be back till the following Thursday for game night.